Welcome to the locker room. I have a different type of video here today. I'm bringing in a admin of a Facebook group for Boston Bruins. Hayden, how are you doing?
I'm doing well. How are you?
I'm doing. I can't complain after that Colorado win. Again, the win against the Colorado Avalanche. I think that was a pretty big win. And we've been talking about the Bruins for a while. Before we kind of get into that, so you're I would say the lead guy on the admin page for the Boston Bruins Facebook page. Would that be fair to say?
Um, I would say Scott Vesey is, but he's got some personal stuff going on right now. He's still behind the scenes. We got me, we got Greg, we got Sean, we got Kelsey, we got Matt, and then the two owners, Sean and Sierra.
So, I
They're
mean,
always
kind of,
lingering.
if you want to kind of speak about the group, I'll actually have a link to that group down below in the description. So when do you guys start that page?
They started it. I've only been around for 6 years, I think.
Mm-hmm.
They probably started 10, 12 years ago, if not longer.
Right.
Uh, Sean did. And it was for the fans, by the fans type of deal. We've been offered to be bought out numerous times from blog sites. We always turn them down. But
Thank God.
yeah, some of that trash. Um, it used to be the wild, wild west. It, it it used to be everything that you wanted to say would be said, and
Right.
we cut that back because we had the original lead admin John Shaw, who passed away not too long ago from cancer.
Oh, I'm sorry
Um,
to hear.
well, we appreciate it. He's a good guy, and we try to stick to what he was trying to instill into the group.
Right.
Everybody's included, whether you played, you didn't, male, female, whatever. We didn't care. Um, and we get 18,000 members, is generally 2,000 active at a time. Now, a lot of those guys and girls don't participate. They just kind of sit back and read, and they'll emoji or throw a comment here and there, but they're intimidated because some of the people have a lot of hockey knowledge. Some of the people, yeah, think
Yeah.
they do. And then there's some that just like the sport and they want to know what's going on. So,
True.
but in general, it's a good group.
Yeah. I actually highly enjoy it. I've joined a few different Facebook pages before for the Bruins, and kind of it would kind of deteriorate during games and just with certain language that was used. And it was like, what I do appreciate about the group is that it's, for the most part, stays respectful, and you can actually have some pretty good hockey conversations. And there's some, and I firmly believe in that as well. Regardless if you played the game or just learning about the game now, all fans should be treated with respect. And that's the one thing that stood out in that group, which as somebody that's a part of it, I really do appreciate.
Yeah, I mean, the dumbest thing somebody could say is, well, you've never laced up the skates, so you don't know. There's plenty of people in this group that are smarter than everybody in the group that have never played.
Yeah, I
So
mean,
it's just a dumb thing to say.
agreed.
And there's a lot of dumb things said that get by,
That's
but
fair.
everybody's got an opinion. I mean, certain people think that we target them,
Mm-hmm.
which I personally don't. There's some people that annoy me, sure. Some people I don't get along with on the page. Hi Zane, for instance, but him and I have had great conversations off the page,
Right.
and you know, if we disagree, we disagree. As long as you can be civil about it,
That's the big thing.
it is what
That's
it
what I
is.
enjoy. I mean, shoot, I think that's kind of the great thing about the group. And kind of talking about the Bruins today, they get a big win, 3-1 win over the Avalanche. I kind of want your takeaways from the game. What did you think of the game? How do you think it went? And do you think it was a good sign how the Bruins took it out and how they won, or was it a little bit concerning how the Avalanche carried the play for the most part?
It was it was pretty concerning the first two periods. I mean,
Mm-hmm.
they have 8 shots in 2 periods, something like
Yeah,
that.
yeah, it was like
Um,
8 shots.
but usually, the past few games, it's been semi-low shots with a bunch of shot attempts.
Mm-hmm.
Today, I think it was like 8 shots on with 15 attempts through two.
Right.
And I don't know why teams are able to clog the lanes and block shots.
Mm,
which is great because it's an art that's kind of gone by the wayside.
it
You know,
has.
like Derek Forbert was excellent at it.
Yeah.
Um, you know, Hampus is good at it when he doesn't hurt his leg. You know,
Yeah.
I mean, you get shot off the knee, you fracture your kneecap, and that kind of sucks.
Yeah.
but but I can't. I don't know if it's the system where it's shoot the slot and they're trying to shoot everything straight on and not from
Right.
angle, where the defensemen are just closing down, or what.
Right.
But um, it the first two periods they just didn't seem there. They weren't very physical. They were doing a lot of stretch passes to space, not to
Yes.
each other, to space. And I mean, guys like Marchand can't catch up to that anymore.
No. No.
Unfortunately, I mean, he's had 73 surgeries. You know, it's going to happen. You're going to decline. Um, so it's tough.
I really now the game. I think the Avalanche were the better team for pretty much for most of the game, and I
Mm-hmm.
think the Avalanche just they have a very talented roster, so that's not to take anything away from them. And I think with the Rantanen trade that just happened, where you ship him off essentially to Carolina. I know there's three teams in the deal, but essentially the big piece is Rantanen goes to Carolina, Martin Necas goes to the Colorado Avalanche. Him and Drury both played today against the Boston Bruins for the Avalanche. I
And they
will
played
say,
very well.
yeah, I mean, it was really impressive seeing how well that Natchez and McKinnon and Druin as a line played together. And Natchez is really fast. McKinnon, so I was looking at advanced stats for the top three players in the NHL with 20 plus mile per hour speed bursts in games. Number
Yep.
one is Nathan McKinnon, two is McDavid, and three is Natchez. And you could see the speed and the deep low cycle when they're going all around the horn in the offensive zone or the Bruins defensive zone, I should say. That line, when they get chemistry, that's going to be a heck of a line to try to play against. And considering that, I mean, I think the Bruins, for what it's worth, they survived.
Well, the scary
Survived.
part about that is Natchez on power play one.
Oh my god, yeah.
You know, I mean, he got there 8 hours ago, and all of a sudden he's on power play one, and it was like he belonged, like he's been there for good. You
Yeah.
know, it Drury, like you said, played really well.
Yeah.
Um, but much like the Bruins, after the top two lines, they kind of declined fairly quickly.
Yeah. And that's kind of a problem generally in some of the Western Conference teams like the Oilers, a little bit top heavy, the Avalanche a little bit top heavy. Now the Avalanche are tied to, not to make this a Avalanche video, but they're kind of tied to JT Miller in a possible trade. We'll see what comes of that. Uh, but you know, I will say that top two line. I mean, with Natchez, if they could add another piece, and I think if they could even add another defenseman, it just that would be that's going to be a powerhouse of a team to try to beat in like a 7 game series.
Um, their goaltending suspect.
See, I'm a
That's what
Blackwood guy. I'm a Blackwood guy. I'll fully admit.
I was when he was in New Jersey, but
Mm,
now, But they they're in much of the same trouble as Boston. They have the talent, but for some
mm.
reason, some nights it just doesn't happen. You know, I
Yeah,
mean, they're fourth. They might have dropped into wild card spot as of today.
yeah,
I'm
they're
not.
in
I
the
was.
first wild card spot if I remember correctly.
Yeah, I know they were in.
And
I know they're in the fourth spot, and I think today either dropped them or tied them for the wild card. I believe.
yeah, they're in that first spot right now on the wild card.
Yeah.
And
So I mean, for an immensely talented team, they're struggling too. I mean, look at Edmonton last year.
mm,
All the talent in the world. In the first half of the year, they were garbage,
and then
and
they
then
just
all of a
clicked.
sudden it clicked.
Yeah,
You know, and it happens. This team seems to be starting to click a little bit,
yeah,
especially Geeky and Pasta. I
yeah. For the
mean,
Bruins, yeah, it's been you
I mean, how
know
can you defend that?
I what I really like what I've seen with that line because Zaka's played solid as well, but it's mainly been Geeky and Pasternak kind of
Hmm.
setting up these goals. is what I really like with Pasternak and Geeky now is it seems like the chemistry's built so much they don't even really have to say anything, shout at each other. Geeky knows exactly where Pasta wants him, and like that first goal of the game they score, Pasta coming on the right hand side, Geeky's coming high in the slot, he just buries it. Geeky's a guy that kind of lining himself up to actually have a pretty decent contract the next go around. And,
Yeah.
I was one of these guys. I'm like, maybe this is a guy you consider trading before he got red hot. But now it's like he's starting to form that chemistry with Pasternak. I don't know, man. I mean, maybe this is a guy you can try to retain because it just looks like it's clicking. I
Even
mean,
even before he started clicking, I probably would have said try to sign him.
hmm
Um, he's a tip. People are going to blast me for this. I think he's a prototypical Bruin. He digs. He's good on the boards.
yeah,
He can be physical. He doesn't
strong.
mind strong. He doesn't mind getting hammered in front of the net if he has to. And his whole thing with, if you watch, a number of his goals have been almost identical.
Yeah,
Two defensemen, Pasta comes around the backside, and two defensemen collapse on him, and it's only Geeky. Don't worry about it. What could go wrong? Well,
yeah.
a lot can go wrong, you know. So, that's good in a sense, but eventually, probably the next couple of games, people are going to start dropping into the umbrella again and
Yeah.
sticking with Geeky, figuring it out. Because I mean, this year, my personal opinion is teams have realized the Bruins are always looking to open up the ice, rush the guy with the puck. Don't let them set
Right.
up. If the
Right.
Bruins can't set up, they can't do anything. Unlike Colorado, who rips the puck around, they move the puck fast.
They do.
You
They do.
know, and it's never to space. It's always stick to stick. Now,
Yeah.
is the pressure getting to Boston where they're panicking and rushing the pass? Maybe.
Mm.
It's tough to say at this point, though.
I think there's a multitude of factors, and actually some of them I actually have for a topic later. But I think it also doesn't help that with the Bruins of the injuries of a McAvoy and a Lindholm, Hampus Lindholm, it affects your back end and it slots guys in spots they traditionally probably they're not best to succeed, right? And considering everything that's happened with the Bruins on the back end, I think they're missing a puck mover in my opinion. Like a guy like Lohrei, the one thing I do like about he definitely is a solid passer, picks up his head, can make those nice passes. It's just we don't have enough of that on the back end. And in comparison, when you're watching the Avalanche, we look at Makar, Taves, Gerard, they're able to kind of whip it around, kind of even properly cycle. The forward will cover for them. That's what makes the Avalanche so dangerous in that top two lines. The cycling and just very intelligent hockey IQ they showcase with knowing where to be and where not to be while
Mm-hmm.
they're moving the puck around. It's really fun to watch, honestly.
Oh, it is, and there's a number of teams that are like Florida is very much like that.
Yeah,
Um, Winnipeg is starting to get there. Ottawa, watch out for Ottawa. Watch out for Buffalo over the next couple of years. Both of them will be playoff teams in the next 2 years. So,
Buffalo was a team that not this season but the season before I thought would have made a little bit more of a jump because they have the talent. They have a ton of talent on that roster. It's just they're going to kind of have to make a few minor tweaks. I agree with your assessment. And then with the Senators too. I mean, how much young talent they have on that roster.
yeah,
I
but
mean, they should be ascending.
last year Buffalo was flying, and then Tage went down
Yep.
for a little bit. Tuck, whatever the hell his name is, he went down pretty close to the same time. He was out for a while,
Yeah, he
you
was.
know. So those two kind of quarterback the team. Um, so Ottawa, they're just a bunch of young run and gun. If they can get some defensive structure in their forwards, they're going to be very dangerous.
Yeah, they are. They're going to be very
So
dangerous, and they have the goaltender now with I know he's been hurt, but Olmark and then Marilainen, he looked good when he was called up. And
yep,
Forsberg had a good game against the Bruins the other night too.
yeah,
So I mean they have a good recipe over there. And kind of speaking of goaltending, a goaltender that started out the season not so hot, and for the most of the season's been, I think he still might be a sub 900, but in his last 10 or so starts, he's turned things around. Jeremy Swayman had a very good game today. Just there was no real crazy saves in my opinion, but he was just in position on his angles, taking the proper depth and where the shooter was far, or you know, what have you thought about Jeremy Swayman and his returning to his form?
He's definitely getting back. I was talking about this with a couple of guys today. That all of a sudden that word clicked. It's starting to click with him again. Whether it's being comfortable again, which if that's the case, where he's just gotten comfortable over the past week and a half, 2 weeks,
Yeah,
that's not a good thing. Um, everybody was just, oh, he missed training camp. Yeah, he missed training camp by his choice.
right,
So you can't fall back on things like that when it's done by choice. If he was injured, came back, and he struggled, fine, so be it. Whatever.
right.
That being said, the team didn't help him in the beginning either.
No,
And whether that's I played goal my whole life, and your team feeds off of your confidence as a goalie. If
yeah,
you look like you're struggling, if you look like you're shaky, they're going to try to press harder. You hold the stick too hard, you don't have soft hands, you lose the puck. You try to do too much, you lose the puck. So if your goalie's not going through a good stretch, the team's going to struggle, not just because it's the goalie, but they're
right,
going to struggle as well.
right.
So,
No, I think the big thing here for me when I look at Swayman is I think the confidence level is up for sure, but because while the team definitely did not play good in front of him to begin the season, I mean I think that's very fair to say. I mean both goalies kind of got left out to dry.
yep.
It looks like he's just far more confident, and because when he was really at his low point, he was kind of just he was fighting off the puck, and it's not really that anymore. He's more sure of himself, and the big thing that's impressed me though is his ability to read the play now, which is something that he was always excelled at. He's able to kind of like he's using his peripheral vision to kind of see outside threats, and his ability to laterally get over there and make some big time stops. I mean, it's the reason this is the version of Swayman is why the Bruins paid him over $8 million, and they're hoping they're
It's
seeing more of this.
it's funny you say that because it's a constant gripe of mine that he doesn't read the play well. He is
Mm,
now, and he's you the second half of last year. But the previous year and a half, 2 years, he was not reading the plays at all.
no,
He didn't know what was going off to his weak side or his strong side. He wasn't communicating, which is another big issue. If the goalie's not talking, nobody's talking. The
right.
the goalie runs the ship. He's got to let the defenseman know what's going on behind them. If they have their back to the play, he as a goalie, you see everything that's happening.
Right.
So if there's no communication there, there's no communication with the defense. There's no communication with defense. There's no clean breakouts. It everything trickles down into. I say it on the page all the time. A snowflake causes an avalanche.
Yeah.
One dumb little thing, and it just goes. And then you're playing
Yeah.
from behind, you're struggling, you're panicking. So,
Yeah, I think I would agree with that assessment for the most part. Swayman kind of last year's second half of the season really got to a red hot, excuse me,
mhm.
and then this recently it's just because in the beginning of the season he just wasn't reading the play well, even on kind of obvious two on one, 3-on-2 type situations. He just be get caught like off angle. I just I have seen a massive improvement there, and you're hoping that continues to improve because he is young, all things considered. I know he's not 22, 23, but he's still a
No,
relatively young
he's a
goaltender.
young goalie.
Yeah, so you're kind of hoping as time goes on he keeps developing, and I'm not going to be like the goalie hug is the reason why he's not succeeding, but I also think it's different this go around where he doesn't have a guy like Olmark to lean on as much as with Corpusella. And Corpusella's played pretty fine for the Bruins as well. Nothing to knock about him, but Olmark and
Cho-
him had a very close personal relationship, which I'm not
choices
excusing for poor play, but maybe that could have had some mitigating factor into it. I don't know.
sometimes you think you're making a good choice and it doesn't turn out so good for you.
Yeah,
You know,
exactly.
he chose to take the money and force them to move Allmark. He could have taken 6 million and Allmark would still be here.
He could have taken a lesser contract and take less term. I mean, I know the
Mm-hmm.
Bruins really wanted long term, but he could have. They probably could have managed something if they were like, okay, listen, if you want to
They
keep
could have
both of
managed.
you.
Yeah, they could have managed a 2 year gap, and
Yep.
then next year he'd be the number one goalie.
Yep. I
That's all.
agree.
But I and I know on the page I jump all over him. I jump all over Frederick. I'm all for these guys working their asses off and getting paid.
Mm-hmm.
I am. I mean, it's hard for them. You know, there's a lot of sacrifice they make for between family and friends, social life. Um, Everybody's like, "Oh, they're getting millions of dollars." No, they're not. They get 450,000 out of every million
Right.
after they pay taxes, after they pay performance tax in whatever state they played in, after they pay their agent. You know, after they pay clubbies, just like baseball. The guys that are
Yeah.
picking up the towels, you got to throw them a tip too.
Yeah.
You know, so everybody's like, "Oh, it's all this money." It's really not, unless they're being smart and saving it. Not like Derek
Yeah.
Sanderson. You know, you you go out and you snort it and you drink it away. That's a
Yeah.
problem.
That is
But you know,
that is a problem. No, I mean they do get paid pretty well for what they do, but agreed there is sacrifices there. I would
mm,
definitely acknowledge that there's sacrifices in being time away. I can kind of sympathize with that because my line of work I'm gone half the year, so it's kind of
yeah,
I can
you're on a
definitely
week on a week off, right?
yep, exactly.
Yeah. So
So I can sympathize with sometimes money's good, but there's sacrifices there as well.
yeah, I mean,
So
in a previous life, I was a national installation manager for a sign company. I traveled the country supervising installing signs in hospitals and
mm,
stuff like that, and I was gone 2.5 weeks out of every month.
it's a toll.
You know, so it's a physical toll too.
Yeah.
You know, I mean, these guys like watching Krejci on uh, unobstructed the other night, saying how he can barely skate because his hips hurt so bad.
Yeah.
You know, you watch Derek Sanderson try to walk.
Yeah.
You know, it's just there's a lot that goes into it, and everybody's like, "Oh, they're making millions to stop you crying." It's a lot deeper than that. I mean,
No, I agree.
Lucha. I hate to say it, but you take Lucic for instance. You get on the substance abuse train because you're
Yeah.
trying to deal with the pain.
Yep.
You know, and I'm not excusing anything he's done. I'm not excusing anything any of them done. But
Right.
there's always a cause and effect.
True.
You know, you live your dream. After the dream's over, things might go down the toilet.
Yeah. I
So
mean, I will say the unobstructed views before I go to the next topic. It's actually it's kind of nice. I'll say that it's a
I enjoy
different
it.
way. Yeah, it's a different way to do a broadcast, but I kind of it's like a couple of the boys just chatting up and having fun while they're
Yeah.
watching a game. I like
I
that.
mean, I get the gripe the last game about them going into the putting thing. Yeah, I get that, but if you get a putting green in your basement and you get the boys over, you're going to start putting for shots. You know,
Yeah, just kind of some fun.
it just is what it is. It's on two channels. If you don't like it, put on regular
Go,
Nessun.
exactly.
You know.
So you mentioned Freddie, and I
Yep.
figured we'll bring up this conversation here. So Trent Frederick, player that I think me and you actually view very similarly, which is funny. It kind of goes in this conversation. Should the Bruins be buyers or sellers at the trade deadline? I mean, they had just had a big win. What do you think? Where would be the best spot for them to be? To sell or to buy?
Both.
Both.
I don't think that it's tough because even in other chats that I have with people, I'm not totally convinced that the Bruins are as bad as their record. Okay.
Fair.
Um, the fourth line's been great.
Yep.
First line's turning on. Third line is getting there.
Right.
You know, it comes down to the defensive structure. I think we're gonna. alter the subject a little bit here by accident.
That's
Um,
fine.
you fire Monty, you bring in Sacco, who is handcuffed to play the same system because
Correct.
you can't come
You can't
in
change it.
a quarter and all of a sudden uproot everything and expect it to work because at that point it's just a rebuild and you're dead in
Correct.
the water. You're dead in the water at that point.
Correct.
So he gets handcuffed. Granted, the power play should be much better than it is, but if you
Yeah.
notice, the power play is better for without McAvoy.
Which is yeah.
We'll get into that in a minute, but um, like Freddie, disclaimer: I don't hate the kid. Okay, I hate. I say this too. I hate the hype. He his first game, he jumped a non-fighter and uppercutted the poor kid like 9 times
Right.
while the kid's ducking out of it, and everybody's like, "Oh, he's my hero." No, that's not cool. It's just not. It's like Shane Knighty beating up the kid from Dallas during that big Savard fight. You
Oh, I
know,
remember that. Yeah.
he
Yeah.
just unleashed on him. Even his own teammates were telling him to stop, and he wouldn't.
Yeah.
You know, it's you can't do that and feel cool about it. But that being said, last year he was actually playing hockey, and it was weird because he's a good hockey player. He is a
Yeah.
good hockey player. And then this year, I don't know if he's in a contract year. So some guys struggle in a contract year, some guys elevate.
Right.
I don't know if he's stuck in between. He doesn't know which style to play. So do I re-sign him or do I trade him? I probably trade him
Right.
Because he's not getting a raise. I mean, he's going to get the mandatory raise that they get for a year served and all that crap. But
Right.
like Greg Hutt is going to boycott the Bruins if they sign him and let Geeky walk, which I fully support.
Yeah.
But I mean, he's a tough kid. I think he's one of those guys that might be better served in a different situation.
Probably a different spot somewhere else
Like where they need him to be doing that. Like he'd excel in Florida.
Yeah, he actually would work well in Florida.
Let's see here. What other Goonie teams are there? He'd excel in Calgary, actually, believe it or not. Colorado, probably. You know, teams like that can use a third line center. He is a third liner. He shouldn't be playing fourth line, but he's
I,
just very sporadic.
so I don't hate Frederick either, right? I appreciate what he did last year. I think he kind of in some sense I think that's probably going to be a career year type thing for him. I just look at him purely as a third liner at best. I'm actually even yeah, maybe a little bit more offensively gifted than a fourth liner, but it's like I like when Frederick's on his game and he's playing smart. I'm fine with him. I just kind of understand that I for what he gives you, and he's becoming a UFA next year. I mean, what's he going to be asking for? Like you said, I wouldn't give him much of a raise before beyond what is obviously required. And is it really kind of the best option internally? And I look at a guy like, and this is might rubble some Bruins fans a different way, like Wallstrom. I'd rather retain a guy like Wallstrom. I'd rather retain Geeky over a guy like Freddie. And it's not that I hate Freddie. It's just I can kind of take it or leave him. I just think he's a third liner, and while he has some intrinsic value, it's I don't know. He's never been a fan favorite of mine. He can fight against non-fighters, and then he gets demolished by fighters. That's what Freddie is.
Kind of like Greg Campbell.
Yeah, yeah,
I mean, let's see. Yeah, Freddie's making 2.3 this year, so he probably jumps a mandatory raise of 275, 3.2.
right.
So
And if the cap goes up reportedly to 9-10 million, is what it's estimated at.
yeah, it's supposed to
It's
bump to 97.
is it okay?
Yeah.
So it's again, I don't hate the guy. It's just I think I'd rather try something else and kind of speaking on, since Freddie sell, is there anyone else on this team you would sell?
For business purposes or because I don't think they work?
Both, actually. Let's do business purpose first, then we'll do for you just don't think it works.
Business purpose, I moved Marchand
Hmm.
um, because he's declining.
He's declining. Yeah, it's
He's
expected though.
yeah. I mean, he's had 73 surgeries.
It's crazy.
You
Crazy.
know, I mean, seriously, he's having 4 surgeries every offseason for the past 5 years. So,
Yep.
um, Frederick, just
Yeah.
not because I don't like him. I just think there's better people. Like, I fully expect Beecher to be a good third liner.
Oh, you do.
Oh, absolutely. You know, um, he does all the right things away from the puck. He he's he's very much like Bergeron in a lot of aspects. Not as flashy, not as I don't want to say not as skilled, but not as talented. But
Right.
he's got the same mentality. Go go go. When he screws up, he makes up for it the next shift.
Yeah.
And every play is going to screw up. It happens. You
Yeah.
know,
There's no even Bergeron made mistakes. Like there's no perfect player every single hundred
yeah.
percent of the time.
As much as I like Corpusalo, I think there is value
Agreed.
to a real contender to have him as a backup.
I agree.
Um, you know, um, a couple of guys down in the minors, but off this roster, probably that's about it. And if that's the case, you don't even return a goalie; you just bring DiPietro up, who
I
had
mean,
his who had his third shutout in a row last night.
this is getting a little off topic, but I've gone to some P Bruins games this season. I've been a big fan of Michael DiPietro. Like when he went from Vancouver, and this is what people don't understand is they fucked up his development that one year, like during the whole pandemic, where they put
Mm-hmm.
him on the taxi squad. They
Yep,
just let him sit, ruins him because it's just you can't like a goalie that young in his development. I'm sorry, I'm gonna get passionate about this. The goalie that young in your development, that is the stupidest thing you can do to a guy
absolutely.
and expect them to fucking progress. So then obviously the next year he has okay stats. Like if you look at his statistics, they're not that bad. He has okay stats, but then Vancouver's like, he's not being what we exactly want him to be. We end up acquiring him. He plays for the Maine Mariners in the ECHL, goes back up to Providence shortly after that, I believe. And then
Yeah,
he's just constantly improved. And where Brandon Bussey, who's he's also lately, as of late, he's had a shutout. He's looked good lately. But DiPietro's taken over that spot as the third man. I think he would be perfect next season as a backup goaltender, Swayman. He's done everything you've
yeah.
asked of him. He's one of the best goalies in the AHL. And it's a guy that had a pedigree at one point that people thought, like, yeah, this is an NHL level goalie. And probably would have stuck with Vancouver if they didn't butcher his development. You know?
I 100% agree with that.
You know?
And nothing against Bussy, whatever. Everybody
How are you
pronounces him
pronouncing it?
differently. Yeah, the bus. But he's getting up there in age. If he hasn't made it yet, it probably is what it is.
I think he's a tweener. I think he's one of these guys that maybe he's like a Calvin Pickard, where eventually down the road a team just needs a guy and they call him up
Yeah,
and he does okay. I just he's serviceable, but if he's your NHL backup, you're looking for an upgrade. I think he's good for the AHL level. Maybe could play on some teams at the NHL level, but as of right now, when I'm watching them in person, it's just I vastly believe DiPietro is the far better goalie.
yeah, absolutely. And not
You
just because
know,
of his stats. I'm a goalie guy. I love goalies. I always played goalie. So he's got a lot of Tuca in his system. He's very smooth, very calm. He doesn't
yep.
panic. He's very athletic if he has to be. But
Mm,
typically he doesn't have to be because
yeah,
he's where he's supposed to be. Which Swayman's getting back to Swayman. Swayman's getting back to that point right now
which is good.
where he was way off angle. He was kicking out bad rebounds.
Yeah.
And he should not be playing the puck. He
Oh
did it
my
again.
God! Please,
He
please,
did
yes.
it again today.
It's like stay in the net, and it almost became a goal because he's like he got to stick on it
Yeah.
when he got back in net. But it's like what you are not Martin Brodeur. Stay in the net because it's just it.
Yeah.
Oh, it's sorry. That's a pet peeve. It's no kind of play within yourself. Know your
Hmm.
strengths and realize like okay, like I'm not that good of a puck mover. I'm not going to try to shoot for an empty net goal or whatever. You know, just or try to play with it too much.
I
Like
mean,
just play within yourself.
most young goalies now are trained to play the puck, and most are really, really good at it. He's
Right.
just not one of them.
No,
You
he's
know,
not.
I mean, you got to play the puck on occasion, but as much as he's trying to, it's just not in his game right now. It may
And
come.
that's it may come. I mean, he might improve. I mean, he's still young, but at the same point, like work and practice. Make sure
Yeah,
you can lift it before you start playing with it like that.
yeah.
Um, so now
Sorry, we went off track.
no, that's fine. It's I mean, this is why I do these shows. It's fun to have just hockey
So,
talks. What about
so
personal like you don't think fit trades?
Osterley, um, I think they tried to replace Forbort with him, and it just didn't work.
Yeah,
He hasn't been terrible. Don't get me wrong, but he's just your run in the mill.
he's a
You know,
seventh
like
man. He's like a 17 man.
Callahan has stepped up, and if you don't hear a defenseman's name, it means he's doing good things.
Yep, agreed.
I heard his name once tonight, and it was
Yeah,
because he made a good play.
yeah,
You know, so the less you hear a defenseman's name, unless it's McAvoy, where they're always talking about him, or Makar or whatever, that's
right.
a different story. But you, everyday defenseman, you don't talk about him. It's a good thing. No worries. He's fit in very well. I don't know if he's a true NHL everyday guy. He may be. He's getting there. The coaches like him. Providence talks him up like there's no
Crazy.
tomorrow.
Yeah.
Um, um, I think it. I think that's it.
You know, it's I'm definitely I'll be interested to see your reaction to this, and it wouldn't happen because of the contract with a no movement clause. A guy that a guy that I just they won't move because he's local. I'm not a big Charlie Coyle guy. I think he kind of played above himself that one season, gave you second line type production, and I think he has his needs, but I mean, if in a dream world, if you could deal him for some type of value back, which it wouldn't happen again because he has that in his contract, that would be a guy I'd like for the Bruins to deal. I mean, pretty much everyone else you mentioned, I'm in lockstep with. Marchand, I don't think they will deal just because it's going to be one of those situations where it's like, do you want to move? Yes or no? And if I think it will be, they'll allow him to just say like yes or no to that.
Yeah,
You know.
yeah, I can see
Um,
that. I have to disagree with the Coil. I know I put it out there the other day. Coil, Freddie, draft pick, maybe Lysell to Anaheim. Strictly business. I think Coyle is a real prototypical Bruin. He grinds. He's rarely hurt. Um, he bangs when he has to. He's always hustling. He's one of those guys that doesn't take a night off.
right.
You know, and would it devastate the team if they moved him? No.
No.
Would it devastate the fan base? I don't think so because they just look at contracts and they look at numbers. They don't look at stuff that's behind the play, stuff that helps develop a play. Um, you know, there's a lot more. And they're like, oh, why didn't he do this? Well, because you're watching it on TV and it's slowed down tremendously. You get down ice level at 30 miles an hour and
Oh
you
no,
try
it's a completely
you
different
try to make a
animal.
choice.
It's a
So
completely different animal. Like, and actually, the only reason I've even really wanted Coil traded before, but now it's really not going to even make a point at this standard because of the cap's going to go up. Was I thought for the longest time he was just slightly overpaid, where it was like a little bit too rich for a guy like Coil. But I mean, he had that great year, and I agree for the most part. He does make the intelligent plays. He has one of the best abilities is availability. He's always there. He's always on the
Yeah,
ice. And defensively, as a two-way guy, he's not bad. It's just Coyle's one of these guys because I don't hate him. I actually like him overall as a player. He's just one of these guys that I feel like you feel like you can get just a little bit more out of him because I think the skill set's there. I like this game for the most part. I just feel like there's just a little bit more. Coyle to me is a guy that I think could be a consistent 60-point guy if everything kind of rounded into the right situation. And maybe it's not, maybe because of the juggling of lines we've seen. Maybe it's just not been able to be a thing. But I think the talent's there with Coyle. It's just for one reason or another, he always wants me just wanting a little bit more, if that makes sense.
as much as they play him at center, he's a better winger. His better years is when he plays majority of the wing.
Which is
So,
crazy.
and Freddie, if Freddie's better with him, those two work very well together for some reason. So separating them a lot kind of messed with Freddie too. I think
That's
not
yeah, that's a
not
good
mentally,
point.
just on ice because they get to know each other. They became pretty good together, and now you got to learn new tendencies.
Yeah. I mean, it's definitely I would agree. Coyle and Freddie, for whatever reason, they just mesh very well. They're kind of bigger body guys.
Hmm?
I liked when they played together. And before we kind of go into the next topic, I generally before because I didn't put this in subject. What have you thought about Lethierry since he's been called up? What have you have you like? We talked briefly about Callahan. What do you think of Lethierry?
He reminds me of Wagner. He's
Oh yeah,
go go go. He's got snarl. He's
yeah,
not a guy you want to mess around with. Um, he's got a hell of a shot. He's got a wicked snapshot. The guys seem to like him. And they were saying the other night on unobstructed, he's hockey smart. He's a really really smart
yeah,
kid,
yeah.
and that's you need to be smart to be able to play. It's not just all physical stuff. But
No, if that was the case, guys like Yakupov would have excelled if it was just all physical talent. There is a mental
yeah,
aspect to it you need.
yeah. I mean, Vinny, he's always in the right place. Much like I'm going to bring Beecher into this again. Him and Beecher are similar. Right now, Vinny's got a little more jump to his step. He's a little faster.
Right.
Um, Vinny's got speed. He's got the shot. He's he's got very good ice awareness. He knows when to keep his head up, unlike Potsy. But is he going to stick? I don't know.
Yeah.
I mean, what's he, 28?
He's like 29. He's a guy that he's has over 100 something games I think at the NHL level.
Yeah.
And
Yeah.
he played different places, played with the Rangers, I think with the Ducks as well. Like he's jumped around, he's bounced around mainly in the AHL. I For me, I'm kind of saying I'm not sure if he'll stick. The one thing I do appreciate out of his game, I love the back checking and just
Mm-hmm.
knowing when to go and when not to. And it's just a minor thing that most people won't pick up on, but I really, really appreciate it. It's like, okay, this guy just he knows how to like a knock on Lysell, for example, right? Because it's a big thing about him, his lack of ability to play a 200-foot game. If like
Yeah.
you could put Lysell like the series hockey brain into Lysell, you get probably a far better player.
Yeah. Lysell is a strange one. He should be so much better than he is. And I
Agreed.
don't know if I mean, he got screwed back home when he decided he was going to declare for the draft. He got blackballed and
Yeah.
it screwed up his development. He needs to put on size. He's 120 pounds for crying out loud.
Right.
Um, but he's got a little Marchand in him. He can be a dirty little bastard.
Yeah. Yeah.
So if they could figure out to teach him a little bit of defense, I mean, they did it with Pasta. Pasta was strictly offense, 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 and all of a sudden now he's decent at defense.
Yeah.
There might be something there, but Pasta also put on 20 pounds of muscle
That's what I
where
think.
he's
Yeah.
not afraid and he's not getting banged up all the time.
That's what I think Patra also needs a little bit. I'm not saying defensive aspect. I'm saying like the muscle, like add some,
Well,
add a little bit of weight.
I mean, what's he, 21? 19,
Exactly. No,
21?
he's like a baby. He's 20, I think. He's like
Yeah.
he's a baby. So I'm not
And he's a small
I,
guy, too. He's a little fella.
5'10". Yeah, he's 5. I think he's
Oh,
5'10".
then I'm a
Is he
little
5?
fella, too.
Yeah,
Dang.
I mean that's what I was gonna say. I think he's 5'10". I want to make sure on that. Yo, he's 5'11". He's 5'11".
Oh, he's a
So
giant.
yeah, he's a titan among men, and but I also think him being called up, he's played pretty solid. He's picked his head up more, made more intelligent passes.
Well, yeah, that was the whole thing with sending him to Providence is people were concerned because he was getting targeted. Guys were running him
Oh
left and
yeah,
right.
oh
So
yeah,
I think he learned to pick his head up pretty quick. He took a couple of knocks today and got right back up.
yeah,
He's not like one of those guys like Pasta gets knocked down and all of a sudden he's like, what? What are you gonna call it? No, just get up and play. Go.
yeah.
You
Agreed.
know, you can't be 50 feet behind the play.
That is a knock on Pasta. Sometimes I'll just look at the
Yeah,
ref and like, dude, the play's still going on, man. Back check. You
yeah,
know?
and you also get the knock on Pasta. He gives the puck up. Yeah, because he's got the puck 90% of the time he's on the ice. It's going to happen.
Yeah, yeah.
It's just
And I think at times he tries to do a little bit too much because he feels like he has to.
um, or he's a little more confident than he needs to be at that moment.
Fair.
So, I mean, he's an amazing player. Don't get me wrong.
So
And me criticizing guys, I couldn't tie my skates faster than them. So you know, I don't think I can do anything better than any of them. Just to make that
no,
clear.
but I think though it's fair to criticize. You can criticize and realize that a player in the NHL is like a far better hockey player. You can still criticize though, right? I mean,
Yeah, but
respectfully. Like when you start calling them names and crazy stuff, then it's like, all right, calm down. You know?
yep. I mean, back to the page. That's one of the big rules: is you don't trash the players. You can
No,
criticize them, but you don't trash them because we get family members in there,
right?
and they don't want to be reading that crap. You know,
No.
if I can't call you a douchebag on the page, you're certainly not going to be able to call one of the players a douchebag on the page.
And you wouldn't say that to their face. Let's make that very clear.
Well, that's the other thing. Anything I say on the page, I will say to somebody's face.
Right.
You know, I'm old enough where I remember you used to have to say something to somebody's face, and if you got punched, fine. If you didn't, great. So, but
Exactly.
now with social media, you can say whatever you
People feel
want,
too
and
comfortable.
oh, it's my Second Amendment right. No, you live in Canada. You don't have a Second Amendment right.
So, um,
Stop.
so this
Anyway,
will kind of
sorry.
no,
I
it's fine.
digress.
We'll bring this up because Hampus Lindholm and Charlie McAvoy have been out.
Yep.
Well, Hampus Lindholm and Charlie McAvoy coming back into the lineup. Will this solve a lot of the issues? Will this make the Bruins a lot better? I mean, obviously it's going to improve the defense, but will this kind of make the Bruins a little bit more consistent in the win column?
It'll make it more consistent in the power play with Hampus coming back
Yeah.
because it's going to put within a week or two. It's going to take him a little bit because he skated for the first time in 6 weeks last week.
Hmm.
You know, so he's just back to skating on his own. He's had a couple of practices with no contact. I mean, he fractured his kneecap. Ow.
Yeah.
You know, and
Yeah.
he knew it right away too. He knew that something broke. But he'll be going, or he should go to power play one, and then because he can move, he's a much better skater right now than McAvoy because I firmly believe McAvoy's hurt. Obviously, he is because he's out, but I think he's been hurt a lot longer than is perceived because his pinching and turning around, if he was getting beat, he just wasn't able to turn and catch up.
Yeah.
So they say an upper body. I say personally, my personal opinion, it was like an oblique, mid-range muscle issue, cartilage tear in the ribs, broken
Right.
ribs even. You
Yeah.
know, it could, in which will stop all that stuff. And his cutting wasn't there.
Yeah.
So
Which would make sense if it was no oblique or ribs because it's that's gonna affect how you kind of turn.
yeah, the torque on your torso and stuff. That's just an opinion. I don't know, but just seeing him skate, it was like Pasta last year when he had the stomach tear.
Yeah.
He couldn't turn to do anything.
Yeah.
So, and with McAvoy shooting wide left most of the time, it means he's not opening up to shoot the puck. So he's pulling it. So I would assume it's a mid-range muscle issue someplace. Again, just an opinion.
So do you think that with both of them back in the lineup and both healthy, do you think this would it's going to improve the power play, but do you think it will improve the record massively over time?
It makes them a significantly better team, but I don't think it makes them a remarkably better team, but I don't think it makes them a significantly better team.
Okay.
Does that make sense?
Yeah, that makes sense. Like there's definitely an improvement there, but it's not like it makes them like a massive leap in play.
It should, in theory, make a massive leap in special teams.
Right. Which has been abysmal. It's been abysmal. I mean, lately it's been better, but it's not been.
Lately, it's been better over the past week and a half that McAvoy's been out, and Laurie's been quarterback in power play one.
He's looked good. I'll say that for the most part. I mean, there's a couple plays where he'll try. Like there was the other night where he tries to throw it across the blue line, and the other player went down the other way. Nothing came of it. But I think Lorai overall, I've actually kind of been impressed with him. I mean, sure, there's some things that you can nitpick, but for a young D man, I mean, he looks pretty decent.
I mean, theoretically, he's actually a number one defense D man right now.
Yep, and that's where kind of players are kind of mentioned earlier, getting slotted in spots where they probably shouldn't be. You know,
I think he's handling it quite well, actually. I know we're going to go into Zadorov in a little bit here, but to answer your question, yeah, there'll be a better special teams wise and everything. Special teams wins games.
Yeah.
However, if it's always the penalty kill, that's a problem.
Yeah.
Because that's where you get guys hurt because they have to block more. Yeah. They're chasing people around more. So I think they'll be better. Will it bump into the number 2 seed in the division? Probably not.
Right.
But it'll definitely keep them in the playoffs.
I think for me, Lindholm and McAvoy, if fully healthy, or even 90, 85%, right? Because most players are injured at this point in the season anyways. So let's say 85, 90% of them. Lorai, who has played well, you can kind of pair him with a better defenseman. And I think I've actually liked Zadorov for the most part. I think for when we signed him in the offseason, I thought he was a little bit overpaid. I'm not a massive Zadorov fan. I think he's better off as kind of a bottom pairing guy, but I think he's played. I think he's played respectfully. Like I think he's done decent, but with those two guys coming back in the lineup, it adjusts things and it allows guys, I think, be more slotted to where they should be minutes wise.
Yeah, I mean, because then you'll have Zadorov as a stay home, and you get McAvoy to rush. You can. The second and third pairings will be a little goofy because Lindholm and Laurie can both move.
Right.
They can both skate very well. They both handle the puck very well. So that'll be interesting. But you said that they paid him for a little bit much. We have to remember, we don't know what happens in the meetings. They could have been told last year, just before they signed him, that, we're going to be bumped to 97. So that's why that number isn't terrible next year, if it actually goes up. You extrapolate, it drops 1.2 million in cap value.
Right.
I know a lot of people.
Percentage base.
Yeah, I know a lot of people look at the percentage that they're taking up and stuff like that. But if you jump $10 million, it's a lot of money.
No, it does. It makes it makes the cap allocation percentage wise to each player far less, and then
Hmm.
it gets a little interesting because I don't want to like this could go on for hours, but there is a little bit of a worry. This one will go up. The next season after that should go up, but then when they have to renegotiate, we might see a little bit of what experts say stagnation with the salary cap going up. There might be instead of like you're seeing these massive 5 to 10 million rises, maybe it's a 1 or 2 million for a little bit. But I mean, if the cap does go up to what it reportedly supposed to, I'm fine with the contract. I've just never been. I think Zadorov is a physical body, and I think he's got the best plus minus on the team, even though the plus minus can be a little bit.
I think he's
You know,
plus 11. I think he's plus 11 after today.
so I'd have to double check that fact, but yeah, I think he's done pretty well, all things considered. Um, and actually, we'll just kind of just go right into this topic. What are your thoughts on Elias Lindholm and Nikita Zadorov thus far?
Um, Zadorov is as advertised.
Yep.
He's a penalty machine, but he's the guy that you need in the playoffs. You know, he gets
Yeah.
better as the year goes. He's always been like that. He takes some dumb penalties, sure, but who doesn't, right? Um, he's a plus 12 as of today.
Yeah, plus 12. Yep. I was
So,
just checking that now.
um, so I mean, he's not here for goal scoring. He said that the other day in an interview when somebody asked about the fans criticizing him. He's like, "Well, I'm not here to score a goal."
No, he's not.
So, I mean, and as for Elias, some players like Zaka, for instance, he came here. Everybody wanted him gone immediately because it wasn't clicking. Then the next
Right.
year, it clicked.
Boom. Clicked. Yeah.
I think Elias is going to be like that once he figures out the system because he's been in a run and gun system his whole career.
Whole career. Yes. You're
You
right.
know,
100% right on that.
so if they get younger and faster and they start a little run and gun, he'll pick it up. With a year under his belt and realizing what he needs to do and what he needs to work on, he'll pick it up.
Yeah.
Um, my only issue is no trade clauses. They drive me. They drive me nuts.
Which we hand out like candy. Like, here you go.
Everybody hands them out like candy now.
I
It's
know.
just a
It's
negotiating tactic.
it's insane though. It's just like there should be limits to the amount you can give out.
Yeah, but at the same time, good on the players for
Yeah,
wanting
fair.
to have a stable home life for their kids. You
Yeah,
know,
that's true. That's true.
so good for them. But
I think I'm Zadorov. I mean, he is what he is. I expected this type of level of performance. I mean, I think he's actually played pretty well considering. I mean, some people might complain about the scoring, but Zadorov was never going to be a Norris Trophy finalist with his good point ability. You know, he's a
no, we're
physical defenseman that will get some penalties, but he plays with a certain edge that, I mean, playoff teams like to have because that's the guy you want in the trenches with you. And then as for Elias Lindholm, yeah, offensively it's not been good enough, just to be frank, but he's been winning a lot of faceoffs. I think I'm in line with you. It's maybe this is just a down year for him, and you can see next year where he gets more comfortable, gets to training camp, gets used to the system. Next year could be a breakout year for him. I mean, it's not like he got all his talent sucked away from him, right? It's in there. I just think when you watched him, if you've watched him previously play with Calgary, you've watched him play with Vancouver, it's a completely different style of game the Bruins play. And it's gonna take a little bit of time for him to adjust, and maybe he's not producing at the same clip you'd like him to, but I think for the other aspects that he gives you, especially with faceoffs, which the Bruins needed, I mean, I think he's done okay enough. It's not worth the contract right now, but if you're a Bruins fan, you can at least expect like, okay, maybe this is the down year, and next year he takes the turn in the right direction.
let's just go look at some numbers. All right, so no, that's games played. Never mind.
Pick up Lindholm.
Let's see here. My phone dying? Or nope? Oh,
Nope.
here. Okay. Um,
Oh, did I lose him? Did I lose you? Oh, there
We're
you go. It
back.
froze there. It froze there for a second. That was weird.
Yeah. So set in 2013, he's got 9 goals, 17.
Oh shoot. Okay, we lost him. We lost him for a second. So this would probably make it a little bit more difficult to edit people, but hey, we're gonna kind of stick with it. Hold on a second. Let me pull this up on the screen. I'll kind of text him, kind of see exactly what happened with that. His phone probably died. So let me pull up Lindholm's statistics throughout his career, so we can kind of go from there. Because I'll try to get him back in a second. Alrighty. Get back in a second. Okay. Alright. So con Lindholm statistics essentially throughout his career. 21 points rookie year with Carolina, 39, 39, 45, 44 points. So in Carolina, 30, mid almost pretty much a 45, 35 plus between that range goal scoring or point scoring. Carolina, he Carolina, we kind of excuse me, Calgary. This is where he has a breakout year. 78 points. Then year after that, 54, 47. Injury kind of shortened season. Or no, was that the no? That was a shortened season. Good, good production. Then with the Calgary Flames, 82 points in 82 games played, 64, 32 and 49. I mean, he had very very good run there with the Calgary Flames, where 60 plus point guy. With the Vancouver Canucks, 12 points in 26 games played when the Flames dealt him mid-season. So, I think the he has 24 points in 51 games played. He's going to underperform for what you want out of his value, but you're kind of hoping this is just one little down spurt here. Because I believe that there's more there with Lindholm. So I'm hoping Sean is able to come back. Let me actually pause this real quick. Play. All right. So technical difficulty there. Hayden is back, and he's on a weird angle because his phone's charging. So that's what happened. I showcased the statistics what Lindholm had. I brought it onto the screen and kind of showed it. I mean, I could do that actually even right now. And because you wanted to kind of look into his stats, right?
Yeah.
In Carolina, essentially after his rookie year, he was 39 to the 45 point range. That's what he was in 1, 2, 3, 4 years, right? So early in his
Yeah.
career, a serviceable centerman, very solid. But then when he went to the Calgary Flames, 78 points in 81 games played. Then season after that, 54 and 70. 47 points in 56 games. I believe that is that shortened year. And then he was
Yeah.
a point per game in 21, 22, 82 games played, 82 points, then 64 and 80. And then last year in the splits, and this was actually Vancouver fans were a little annoyed when they got him for this reason. In 49 games played, he had 32 points, which is really solid production. But then when he went to Vancouver, there was a kind of a little bit of a dip there for a stretch. But 12 points in 26 games. I mean, solid enough season. And this year, in 51 games played, he has 24 points. I think, oh man, did it break again? I think it could work hypothetically. I'm gonna pause this stream again. And all right, we're back. We're back. So before I lose you again to the void, what do you think
Guys.
about Lindholm's production? All that.
Um, I think again, if you put him on a go type of team, he'll be fine. If once he clicks, he's gonna click, and I mean he's not a 50 goal scorer. I don't know what
No.
people were expecting from him. I mean, I think he maxed out at 42. Yeah,
Yeah. But that
I
was
mean,
like a career year.
yeah, I mean, other than that, we're at 29, 22, 19, 27. So he's at 25 goals on
Right.
average. So, I mean, that's certainly very obtainable for him. Um, Again, some of that might be he's having trouble because he's never had to play defense. They he didn't he wasn't counted on for defense in Calgary, so that might be part of the issue where he's
Yeah.
trying to figure things out. And once it clicks, it'll click. I have no worries about it. Again, the no trade that bothers me with everybody. If it's
Yeah.
for the first couple of years, fine, but after that, yeah, not so much.
Agreed. Agreed.
So,
I mean, I think Lindholm's just too talented. I think he'll figure it out, and I think the right line combination with him will bring out the best aspect of his game. I don't know what it would be. I mean, I like what I've seen with that. Was that Lettieri? I even liked when they had Wallstrom on the wing, but where they have Frederick with him, Frederick and Lindholm and
yep,
Lettieri today.
yeah,
So, it's I'm more of a
him and
Wallstrom guy. I'll fully admit.
I think him and Wallstrom needs more time.
Agreed.
Which may come if they decide to move Freddie, or depending on what they bring back for Freddie. But I don't see much more than draft picks coming back for Freddie, to be honest with you.
No,
And
I
that's
don't
not a
either.
knock on him. I mean, Lindholm's at 8 goals, 24 points at the moment, so that's not horrific.
No, it's not like he has 10 points on the whole season.
I
I
mean,
just
he's looking
yeah.
at 42 points and maybe 20 goals.
Yeah.
So I get no problem with that right now.
Yeah, and I think it just with the right again figuring out his line mates and figuring out a style and getting comfortable within the system or maybe adjusting things to kind of placate play with him more something that would bring him success. The talent's there, and I do say the face off winning and all that. I mean, there's other intangibles he brings that I think will make this contract age pretty well, in my opinion.
I mean,
So
again, part of the problem is, and I fall into this too, is you picked up the name. You get the top two free agents in Zadorov and him, and you
correct.
expect Stanley Cup immediately.
Yeah.
If you go back and look, you realize, oh, he's had one super year, but he's fairly consistent. So,
Yeah.
okay. And Zadorov is Zadorov.
Exactly.
Everybody wanted bigger, badder Bruins. Well, you got them,
Here
and
we are.
now you complain about it.
So let's talk about it because this is the second last thing here. Facebook, your Facebook group shenanigans, because I know you kind of want to
Yep.
talk about some of the interesting stories you've had over the years. So we had to talk the other night. What's been some funny or maybe even some peculiar situations that have happened helping run the Bruins Facebook page?
Um, well, we'll just go down the list. We get the T-shirt scammers, which are no longer. They'd come in and sell T-shirts. People wouldn't get them. People trying to sell tickets. Oh, send me the money first. Never get the tickets. So we put a stop to that. So there's no selling or buying through the page at all, just for that
Yeah.
reason, because we'd get stuck as middlemen. Scott, who is one of our main admins, but he's been a little less this year because he's got some stuff going on at home. So he has a construction company, and the COVID year, we decided to let them do video game tournament,
Mm.
and then that turned into them playing for money and posting it all the time. So we put a stop to it, and all of a sudden, his business phone was getting blown up. People were booking, oh, come out and make this quote to a fake address, and people were just screwing with his business.
That's crazy.
Oh, calling him, leaving messages, horrible, horrible things said about his family and his wife. Um, saying horrible things about John Shaw, who we base our rules on what John started. He's since passed away, obviously. Well, maybe not obviously. I've had people threaten to come beat me up at certain places, which, whatever, dude. I mean, if you got to be like that, you be like that. Um, I, don't- I again, I don't dislike anybody on the page. Do I get annoyed with people? Yeah, I get annoyed with myself a lot.
Mm.
Okay. There's a lot of times I type out comments back at people, and then I hit delete immediately and retype it in a civil manner.
Yeah.
Um, and there's certain people that think I don't like them or we don't like them, or it's not the case. I think I said this earlier. Like, we'll use Zane for an example. I like Zane very much outside of some of the comments he makes, but that's his opinion. Typically, he comes with what I don't know if you could say it's good reasoning, but he comes with reasoning, which is all we ask. If you want to make a comment, back it up. Give me a reason.
Yeah.
Maybe you'll change my mind. Maybe I'll see it
Yeah.
halfway. But Zane's a good guy. Most of the people on there now are good. We did a flush and we probably took out 200 people.
Yeah.
That's how much trash was in the group a few years ago. So
I mean, I've seen it in some other pages I've been a part of that it can get which the scammers are a big thing. I will say that the scammers like, oh yeah, let me sell you these tickets. There was one group that happened with it was a Celtics one, and it was funny. It's like, oh, sell tickets, and because I'm not big into the NBA, I fully admit this, but a buddy of mine, he's a part of the page, and he got scammed out of
mhm.
tickets. He's like, oh yeah, send the money first. I'm like, dude, never sell, but never give the money first. But it's good that you guys manage the group in such a way because like for me, it just makes it more enjoyable where it's not filled with a bunch of spam. And I'm glad the owners of the pages haven't sold it to these scam websites that you see. Like, I'll like, for example, Wheelhouse Hockey, they sold that to a conglomerate out of Montreal, I believe. And
M
it's
and
all just,
J Media, I believe.
yeah, yeah. It's all like clickbait garbage.
Yep.
And it really pissed me off when they kind of like, just use the deaths of the Goudreau brothers as like a way to profit. I'm like, that's just disgusting. And
Yeah. The
you
thing with
know,
those pages is they run what's called open source advertisement. So you click on the article, there's always an ad running in the back, so it counts as a click for the ad.
right?
And they get paid 25, 75 cents per view. So if you actually just go and read the article, don't even click on the advertisement's still hitting for them. So I mean, they've offered us like $2.25 per member to buy our site, which
Yeah,
is a lot of money at 18,000 people.
yeah,
It, we've always just been like $1 million, and we don't hear from them again.
yeah. No,
So
but it makes it more enjoy. I will say because those pages I've had to like block and delete, and
mhm.
it makes it's just so soulless, and it's like I'm fine with people making content. Like I make content and like making like articles. I think that's cool, but to like clickbait stuff and it just again, the Goudreau one really pissed me off. I actually made a video about it because it really pissed me off. Like you're profiting off someone's death. Like you're disgusting. So off
Yeah,
of
I think
two brothers' deaths.
I think the couple of biggest rules that I like the most and I'm most proud of is the st- don't insult people, don't insult the families,
Yeah,
don't insult the players directly because, like I said, we've got family members of the players in the group,
yeah,
you know. And thirdly, which is the one that I'm most proud of and has worked tremendously, is we protect the ladies of the group.
yeah.
Um, it used to be a lot of scumbags just looking for pictures and trying to hook up and stuff like that. And
Jesus Christ! Oh
oh,
my God.
it's pathetic. And for a little while, we'd find out the ladies would email us or text us or whatever, and we'd blast them publicly. But then we stopped doing that because you know
Yeah,
it didn't go.
yeah,
It was kind of bad. So, but that doesn't happen anymore, and that's what our Edmund Kelsey's for.
Yeah.
If the lady's having an issue, they can go to her.
Yeah.
If they don't want to talk to one of the guys, we can be a little abrupt at times. you know,
Yeah.
I can be a real jerk. I try not to be, but sometimes I get pissed off enough where I
I
just
think
want to.
I I think you didn't like me the first few months I was on the page because I'd be like reacting to you or something and I'd be saying something. It was kind of funny. Um, but no, I mean, you guys are really good on the page generally, and I like the engagement from all the admins
Well,
overall.
let's qualify this. I don't like you now, so nothing's really changed.
Fair enough. Fair enough.
No, a lot of that is when people come in and just start posting their blogs and stuff.
Yeah.
We get uptight about it. You didn't necessarily do that, but you came in hot, and I was like, "Who the hell is this dude?" Okay, but then I realized, oh shit, he actually knows what he's talking about. Okay,
Yeah.
we'll go with it. Um, and then with your videos, which are very good, by the way, your
Oh,
breakdown
thank you.
video, um, you came to me, you asked, you participate in the group on a daily. There's a
Yeah.
core group of, I'd say 100, 150 people that are daily people that are helping and doing stuff
Yeah.
and commenting in the group and posting things. That's fine. We love it. We like it to be more active. We want it to be more interactive,
Yeah.
and doing like the videos, deciding to have you do the game day videos and stuff. It's good.
Yeah.
It's a little more interactive. People seem to like it so far. Um, maybe we'll do a weekly podcast.
Hey,
I don't
I'd
know.
be all for it. I'd be
Yeah,
all
I
for
mean,
it.
we'll figure out. We'll see how many people call me a moron.
Hey, listen, I get that called on the daily. Actually, I will say this before we go to the last one. Funniest thing I've ever happened to me, because I've told you about the one incident where somebody tried to meet up with me and stuff and
Mhm.
didn't work out well for him. I'm not gonna say it on here.
Yeah,
Second one is the funniest one is the uh, being on the internet and when you make videos and things like that, people will just say the most disrespectful shit. But one kind of made me chuckle. He's like, "You're you're so out of shape and fat. I never want to hear you talk about elite athletes in a negative manner ever again." I'm like, "All right, well, fair enough, fair enough." You know?
yeah. I mean, I, I'm right 50% of the time.
Yeah.
And the other 50% of the time, I'm still right in my head.
Right.
I've learned over the years not to argue so much and kind of sit back and use the Google machine. The Google machine is a wonderful tool,
Yeah.
and then I'm like, oh, shit, they were right. Then I'd have to go back and be like, hey, you know what? You're right. Sorry. My bad.
Yeah.
Man up, say you're wrong. Move on.
I mean, I've done it before. It's just it's to me. I think the big thing is having a thick skin and not really like okay, whatever you say. If it gets to a person like an insulting level, it's like whatever. But yeah, I mean, I think having the ability to be like, oh, okay, let me look it up. Oh, you were actually right. Okay, my bad. Um,
Yeah, people have said things to me that I've said about myself, so it doesn't really affect me all that much.
exactly. I insult myself far worse than you can ever insult me. That's how I
Yeah,
always look at it.
I mean, I've corrected people's insults to make it better.
So,
I don't
speaking,
care.
of, we'll go into this last one. Where do you believe this Bruins teams will ultimately finish?
Honestly, second round.
Mm-hmm. So you think you think they'll get past the first round?
Yep, I see them finishing in third or fourth and bowing out in the second badly.
Mm.
So
So similar to kind of, yeah. Okay.
kind of
I
like,
go ahead,
I
sir.
mean, I'm a guy half full type of guy,
Yeah.
So I can see a couple of changes to stop the line shuffling, that'll help tremendously. Because I mean, you get Wallstrom in, Wallstrom out, Wallstrom in, Wallstrom out.
Yeah.
He's been pretty good when he's in.
Yeah,
You know,
I agree. I like his speed and I like what he gives to the lineup. And I think he's got a great shot. I just think you give him a chance and let him play with a steady lineup, you would see more there. And I think it would give the Bruins a little bit more scoring than they're getting now.
yeah, and I mean they even Mickey Mouse with the fourth line, which is too bad
Yeah,
because
yeah,
I know there's some injuries happening at the moment. I mean, Beecher's been great, Kastelik's been great, uh, Kopech's been great. Two head injuries, not good, but I mean, Brazeau, he is a Richie type of player to me. He's
yeah,
slow as frozen molasses. He'll he'll get the odd 10, 15 goals, but then come playoffs, he's just not going to be able to do what he needs to do.
yeah. He's not fast enough. He's not a good enough
You
skater.
know, it's more physical and it gets much faster, and I just don't think unless they're posting him up, hey, skate to the net and stand there. Other than
Yeah,
that, I don't think he's going to be able to do much. So I wouldn't be surprised to see him get moved. Great story, but that's all I see in it. And
yeah.
again,
I agree.
he's an NHL player. I'm no better than him. All the world to him. Excellent story. Great what he did for his life and his family did for him to get him there. But eh, I just don't. I, I just don't think he's going to help in the long run.
I think for me with Brazil, it's a fantastic story, but agree. There's limitations with him. I think there's other options that are better off on this team to give them a little bit more of a spark offensively and even defensively because Brazil is not really the slightest of foot. He defensively, it's like you could get a guy with a little bit more speed that'd be better on the back check because he trudges down there. I mean, he's definitely has his strengths. You get him down low, you get him in front of the net. He actually, for a guy that size, has soft hands, right?
Mm-hmm.
But at the same time, there's limitations, and I think if they dealt him even for a fifth or sixth round pick, I wouldn't be mad at it. Just kind of understanding, but um,
Yeah,
it's
if if it stabilizes the lineup, I'm all for it.
yeah, yeah.
You know,
I, I
and
I could see him going somewhere else and being maybe a 10 goal, maybe a 20 plus. I mean, not maybe, yeah, maybe around a 20-point guy on a season. I mean, it's
yeah,
nothing crazy, but I think he's a serviceable player. I think for currently what the Bruins have, I I view him as more of as the odd guy out. You know,
yeah. I mean, in quick subject change, we talked about this the other day.
right?
Is people keep complaining about the Bruins pipeline?
Yeah,
They've got kids in college that are really good.
yeah.
That
That
in
Walsh kid.
Walsh is a kid. There's a defenseman in Providence, one
Yep.
on the PC Friars. He's huge. He's really good. Um, you know, 2 years, the AHL, the Providence Bruins are going to restack, and they'll be a good affiliation again.
Agreed.
And they've been very good for the past 2 years, three
The
years.
Bruins are currently second in the Eastern Conference. They're
Yeah,
one of the best teams.
I used to go every Friday night. I fell off of that though.
I had season tickets and I didn't do it this year because I just with work and everything. But it's fun. I mean, if you're in the area, it's fun to go to those P Bruins games and see
Yeah,
some of the prospects. It really is. I mean, actually, I had fun watching Brazil when he's down at Providence.
yeah. I mean,
Um,
I live 20 minutes from the dunk,
oh
so
yeah, you. I remember it as the yeah. What is it? The Amica Pavilion now.
yeah, it's the Amica Pavilion.
Yeah, I remember as the Civic Center, then the Dunk,
Yep.
then the Pavilion.
Growing up, we'd take a ride down on Friday nights, and it'd be $16 any place you could sit. And then the missus would get free tickets all the time, so we'd go, and every other Friday we'd go and watch the game.
Yeah,
Yeah. So,
I
but who knows?
well, I'll just say this: I think the Bruins will make the playoffs this year. Probably as a wild card.
Okay.
I I think they're a first round exit team because it. Let's say they face Toronto. Now, if they face Toronto, it sounds crazy. I might give them a little bit more of a chance.
It's a coin flip.
Yeah, it's like I like the Bruins. I really want this team to do well. This is like I'm hoping they win the Stanley Cup in some miracle, right? But realistically, I look at the holes on this team, and unless they make a couple adjustments and maybe a reasonable trade, maybe I could see them going to the second round. I'm not
Well,
sure on this team scoring depth wise, and it makes me. I mean, if Lindholm and McAvoy are back, I feel a little bit better. I feel a lot better about the defense, but I don't know. I don't know if they have enough horses right now to get past the first round.
well, let's go back in history. Florida Panthers trade deadline.
True, fair, fair.
They were terrible the first season that they emerged. I mean, what they 5 years ago they started getting really good. They
Yeah,
were terrible. They were terrible in that 5 year back. Um, St. Louis, they're like literally last in the division,
correct.
and they ended up winning the cup that year.
That's true.
Edmonton last year,
Yeah.
and they didn't. Edmonton didn't do a heck of a lot. I mean, they did enough, but they didn't make giant monster moves.
No, it's actually funny historically when you look at it. Those bigger trades, those teams usually don't win it. You
Hmm.
know, so
Yeah,
it's true. I mean, heck, remember the year when we faced them? We had that historic season. We faced the Panthers, and there was a lot that went on. They kind of just limped into the playoffs, and then they did what they did.
yeah,
It's you get to the dance, you never know, and I'm hoping that happens for the Bruins. I'm hoping that that's what we see. I'm
yeah. I
not
mean,
sure.
I don't, I don't foresee him to become a juggernaut all of a sudden, but I see him enough to make enough noise and cause enough trouble in the playoffs to make the second round. Personally,
True. Well,
so
we got to probably start heading out of here. I really want to appreciate you coming on the show. I mean, this was actually a lot of fun. This was actually a good conversation, and
I appreciate you having me.
no, it was a lot of fun. We should definitely, if you're interested in doing a weekly show on for the page, I definitely would love to. And
Yeah,
again, down below in the description, the link to the Facebook page will be in there. So if you're not a part of it, I'd highly encourage you to join it if you're a Bruins fan. Even if you're not a Bruins fan, feel free to join it. Anything you kind of want to say?
looking forward to seeing the comments on this because there's a lot of hack pages that are out there that are all people that we've removed, and
Oh,
I'm talked about in other groups. Is
really?
is being oh yeah, oh yeah, I get screenshots all the time.
That's funny.
So people are like, oh, guess what Hayden said this time? Oh, he's a fucking idiot. Blah 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 blah. It'll be like a whole thread on something I said on our page.
I look forward to seeing the salty comments then.
Eh,
So,
have at it. So,
so
all right, my friend, I appreciate it. I will talk to you later, and we'll have to do this again. Hopefully, everybody enjoyed it.
absolutely.
Again, my opinions. I don't think I'm right all the time. Just most of the time.
So I'm Captain Paul. See you guys in the next one.